Other icons in my series are people like Mary Wollstonecraft, Sylvia Plath, Alan Bennett, John Cooper Clarke, Dylan Thomas. Joe Orton just summed up the type of person I wanted to choose perfectly. The sort of people I choose are generally sort of quite rebellious, sort of anarchists, troublemakers, but not in a bad way, but just people who push the boundaries of their own field in whatever way that is, and felt it would be great to immortalise him in a stencil, in a place that was relevant for him. I collaged like Joe had done with the books, and Halliwell with the books that he defaced. I sort of pieced all these images together to make a new image of Joe. My work is known for being psychogeographical, so there's a reason why they're there, and the reason is because it's near the library, and also they're life size, so they almost appear like ghost images of the people I choose. What I liked about Joe is that in the early 60s, you can imagine London being a bit stiff, and he came in there with a breath of fresh air and quite rebellious, rude. I think with Joe, he came across, from what I've read, he was sort of very playful and cheeky and provocative. Even though Joe was from Leicester, he travelled to London and he succeeded. He did it. He made it, and it wasn't easy. My job is, it feels to me, is no one asks me to do these images, but my job, hopefully, is to preserve their memory and a lasting memory. And to give people optimism and hope and respect for that particular individual. When I do these images, I choose to make these images. No one asks me to choose them. But you design it, you cut it, you go to the location, you do the research, which I always do. So it's because it's site specific. You do the work, you go home. Then it belongs to everybody. There's an equality with this. There's no, it's not in a gallery, it's a street gallery. So everyone has, you can love it or hate it. It doesn't matter, it's there for everyone. All you're doing is showing a bit of love for somebody, someone you respect, someone that needs respect and remembering. Bear in mind, Joe was from Leicester. Leicester University has the Joe Orton archive, which is held at Leicester University, and they've invited me to put Joe's stencil, exactly the same stencil that's on Essex Road, in Leicester University, and hopefully it'll be on ironically, the library at Leicester University, on the campus. What I want it to do is to make people realise who this person is and what he's done and what he achieved. I'm sure the majority of the people don't know who that person is, but as long as someone just stops and has a think and finds out who this person is, who perhaps hadn't heard of that person before, I feel that I would have achieved something. Yeah, it's all about knowledge, isn't it? About history. I just want people to find out who he is. The fact he's going to be in Leicester as well is a great thing, because it's not that often I make two images in two locations, but the fact it is near where he lived in London and died, the fact it will be now in Leicester where he grew up, it is something quite beautiful about the link, and an image, the same image that sort of transcends time. And again, because he died, I think he was 34, so it's sort of preserving this moment in time, which my work does. It's stopping time, it's preserving a moment. This year, 2017, is the 50th anniversary of Joe's death, and they're going to highlight the plays written entertaining Mr. Sloane and Loot, all at Leicester University this year, which I'm so chuffed to be a part of it.
I love Joe Orton's plays because they're funny. They're so funny. Orton was a working class gay man working and living at a time when homosexuality was illegal, before 1967. And he was angry. He was angry about social inequality, he was angry about sexual inequality, but he channeled that anger into humour to produce black comedies that satirised the establishment, that satirised snobbery and social conservatism. So what I love about his plays is the way that they blend, the way that they are funny and furious at the same time.
I think Joe Orton has captured my imagination as a teenager, and I think he's been a really interesting and influential figure in the back of a lot of my mind and my thinking over the years. I research the geographies of sexuality and historical geographies of sexuality, and I think Joe as a figure in the 60s helps make the argument that there's a history of gay life in the UK isn't just London-centric, that it's really important to get a feel for lives that were lived in cities like Leicester and elsewhere, and to use that as a way of telling other stories about LGBT history in the UK.
There's lots of things that are important about Joe Orton, but for me as a sociologist, I think it's the diaries. I didn't come to Orton through the plays, it was the diaries that attracted me first. Diaries are so important as sociological evidence because they contain that mixture of the ordinary and the everyday, the private with the public. And I think Orton's diaries are fantastic. They're fantastic because not only do they give detailed descriptions of what it was like to be a gay man in the 1960s, but Orton captures the mundane, the quotidian, the everyday, and it's richly detailed and richly observed. So again, a lot of people have talked about the diaries as being exemplars of what it was like to live in the kind of swinging 60s in London, but actually the diaries reveal something else. They reveal ordinary life. They reveal, the mundane stuff around paying taxes, going shopping, the weather. They also detail what other people's lives were like. So early on in the diaries, there's a great description. I think Halliwell observes a woman in Marks and Spencer's buying jam tarts and half a chicken at Christmas, and Orton reflects on how sad that is. Orton also, in his kind of many encounters with other men in the diaries, he describes the kind of sexual encounter, but within that there's also a lot of ordinary detail. So meeting a man in a derelict house in Leicester, the doors were off, the wind was blowing through. They're really evocative images. So for me as a sociologist, it's that fine grain, richly observed detail that gives insight into the realities of life.
But his influence extends way beyond the theatre. Lots of artists, lots of comedians, contemporary satirists and musicians as well. Pop groups like the Smiths and the Pet Shop Boys all honour Orton in their work or acknowledge a debt to his work.
I guess if you're looking specifically at laws around sexuality, of course, things have moved on massively. But when you think about the injustice and intolerance and sense of hatred and the sort of barbaric response of our current government to various social issues, it feels that his plays and his sort of noise he's making against the machine is more relevant than ever. And I guess we're seeing in so many sort of examples over recent weeks, hatred, intolerance, sense of inequality, and his work, which is sort of filled with this anger at people who oppress civil liberties and freedoms, seems even more vibrant and relevant than ever, sadly.